I got off that call and I literally curled up into a ball with my dog and I just bawled my eyes out. And I was just like, I feel like the worst human being ever. I feel like such a failure. I feel like I've just been such an idiot. Employing people, you really have to take so seriously, because the way I showed up, the way I led, the way I communicated had a direct impact on him and his job, his livelihood, his life. Hello! I'm so happy that you're here because I'm dissecting something that a lot of people ask me about, and that is how I've built my team. So in this episode, I wanted to share my biggest mistakes. I'm literally going to be sharing with you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, the ugly crying. I'm not a crier, but there was this one time where I curled up into a little ball, grabbed my dog and bawled my eyes out. And so I'm going to tell you all about that. And also the top 7 recommendations I have when it comes to growing your team, from literally starting out and where to get started to then scaling up your team. For me, God, building a team has been the most challenging aspect of scaling a business. Like, I am an ideas person. I feel like for entrepreneurs, we are ideas people. We're creative. We have like loads of ideas. We are driven to make it happen. So I can be like, I've got an idea and I'm going to make it happen. I can go out there and I can figure out how to do it. But obviously you reach a point when you're growing a business where you can't just do it all by yourself anymore. You have to actually start putting structures in place and systems in place and actually having a team that can support you so that you can scale the business. But that means you're shifting away from this visionary, creative, ideas-based mindset to then figuring out operations and systems and people and managing people. And oh my gosh, that's just like, has felt for me like that is not within my skill set. So I think for some people who perhaps have more of that skill set, then happy days. But for me, I just definitely have really had to learn a lot. And I've made some really big mistakes. And I think when it comes to people and hiring people, it's hard when you make a mistake, because it's not just you it impacts the other person as well. And I think for me, that's been the hardest thing to deal with. So anyway, before I get into my 7 things that I would really recommend when starting to hire and growing your team, and I'm also going to share what my existing team looks like today, because I feel like we're in a really good place with the team, and I'm really happy with what we've created. We've still got our challenges, and sometimes they feel draining and heavy and overwhelming, but we're in a really good place. And so I want to take you right back to the beginning, though, of where I started with a team. So obviously I started the Female Entrepreneur Association in 2011, obviously me, myself and I and my ideas. And then that first year I was doing all the things. I was trying to figure, when you're just trying to figure out what is this and trying to piece it together and like, what am I actually trying to do? And so I was just in a, figuring it out mode, and I did a lot of networking, a lot of connecting. Then in 2012, I decided that I was going to create a free magazine, and I realized that I could not design a magazine. And this is the first point at which I was like, I need to hire somebody. So once I made the decision that I was doing this magazine and I need to hire someone, literally weird things started to arise, and this amazing person called Natalie Wallstein came into my life, and it just felt very organic. It's just like I put it out to the universe, I need to find somebody that can design my magazine, and it's like poof, she just appeared, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So I hired Natalie, and she basically designed the whole magazine, and I put the content of it together. And that was really cool. It was really fun to work with her. It was really fun to kind of get support. So that was good. And then not long after that, I think I hired someone to help me with social media, and I just brought someone on board and wanted them to kind of like take over from me, and it didn't work. I felt like we just really weren't on the same wavelength. It wasn't the right vibe. It just wasn't the right stuff going out. So that quickly ended. And it was a really good lesson in the fact that sometimes you hire people and it just doesn't work out, and you have to be willing to let them go so that you can actually grow your business. Because one thing I found is I have a really bad habit of hanging on to people when I know they're not the right fit, but I don't want to admit it to myself because, one, going back to square one and trying to figure out who else to hire is a pain in the backside, but also just to have that awful conversation to let someone go, it's just a lot. And anyway, that's something I can talk more about later. And then anyway, so then shortly after that, I ended up bringing on the amazing Michelle Raw. So Michelle was somebody who I knew because once I started my magazine, she reached out and she was like, I really love the magazine and I'd love to write for it. So she submitted a few articles and they were brilliant, and I included them in the magazine. And she was just one of those people that she's like a unicorn, actually. She just wanted to help me. She believed in the mission of FEA. She was really into personal development. She was into personal growth herself. And she just really liked what I was about and wanted to help. And when you find somebody like that, it's just such a dream because she just wanted to show up and be of service, and she really aligned with my vision and with the brand and everything too. So we were on the same wavelength. So she started to help out with social media, and she quickly took that off my plate, and it just felt so good to have the right person take it off my plate that could actually, I didn't have to worry. I never worried that she was going to put out something that was terrible. I just trusted her, I just trusted that she would do a great job, and trusted that we would grow together and it would just work out, and it did, and it felt very organic and it felt very easy. Felt easy. And and this is another big lesson that I've learned, is that follow what feels easy and avoid what feels hard. Because typically what feels easy is right and what feels hard maybe isn't so right. Then Andre, my developer, came on board, and he helped me as I was kind of trying to make a better website and also trying to launch the membership. And he started, so I found him through a template website for WordPress websites, and I found this website theme that I liked, and I reached out to the developers on this platform and just said, hey, could anyone help me? And then he said he could help me, and then I got to know Andre, and then we started working together, and we've been working together ever since. And he's helped me build out the first ever version of the Members Club nearly 8 years ago now, and he's helped me to turn it into what it is today. So it's been really great to have a developer in my pocket to help me to turn my ideas into reality when it comes to actual online technology. So that was good. And all of these relationships I felt like just came about very organically. It was like I knew I needed a developer. I knew I needed to up my website game, and so I went on there and I reached out, and it's like I felt like I just put it out there, this is what I need, and then it's like the people showed up. I wasn't trying to force it, I wasn't trying to like figure everything out. Then once I'd had my members club for a year, we had about 1,000 members, and I really, really needed help at that point because I was so busy trying to do all the things. I didn't have time to really market the business properly, and it was just a real struggle keeping it with customer support. And so I reached out in my Facebook group. Actually, it wasn't, I saw a post in my Facebook group where someone else had asked for somebody that was like a good, I think they asked for a VA. And Jess Tenhouse came up, and I reached out to her, we had a chat, and she was like, I just have a package that I can come and take things off your plate. And I was like, this is what I need. So she started with me, and it was just amazing. She just took customer support on for me, and she just ran with it, and it was so good, and it was brilliant. So helpful, especially because that year, or was it that year? No, I think it's the year after, or maybe a couple of years later, my book launched. It was 2017 when my book launched. I felt like my team exploded that year. I hired so many people so quickly, and this is where for me it began to unravel. So I had all these different people come and join me, and what started to happen was I became so distracted with trying to keep up with all the conversations I was having with all the different contractors that work for me. At this point, it was just virtual. Everyone was virtual. We were all working virtually together. Everyone they were all contractors, so they all ran their own businesses essentially. And I found that I was paying invoices, all sorts of, whenever they sent me invoices, so there was just no schedule with like when I was paying people. It was just all over the place. I didn't put contracts in place because I was so used to just bringing people on organically, and it was just like, yeah, this feels like it would work. Or like, you know, when Michelle reached out, can I help you? It wasn't like we had a contract in place. It was like, you will do this, this, and this. It was more organic. It was just, we just were like, let's just see how we get on with this, and let's just see how we go. Or if there was a contract, like with Jess Ted House, I can't remember, but maybe she got me to sign a contract. I can't remember now. Anyway, I didn't have contracts in place. I didn't really set any clear expectations for what I needed. Like I would verbalize, like, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I need help with. But when they joined, it wasn't like a clear expectation of you need to do this, this, and this. And I feel like I got really lucky with the people like Michelle and Jess and those people, because they just came on and just took stuff off my plate, and it was just amazing. And then as I started to hire more and more people, I realized this isn't always the way. People can say they can do something, but them actually being able to do it is quite another thing. And so I started to run into this challenge of it not really working out, or people just not really being as good as they said they were, massive mistakes getting made. So I would be delegating stuff, and it started to feel like things were unraveling. And it felt like, oh my gosh, there's so many fingers in this pie. I don't even know what the hell's going on anymore. And I quickly found myself in this place where I just felt like I was drowning. And I really, really started to struggle. I didn't have onboarding on board, like no onboarding. So yeah, as you can imagine, it was I was in a pickle. And I started to look at like, what can I do to learn about how to be a better, like, you know, better team, a better leader, a better CEO. How can I manage this team better? So I read books. I read amazing books. I'm going to tell you what those books are because they're absolutely essential. You need to read them. And I started to put some more structures in place. We started to systemize a little bit. And there were times when it was really great and I felt like, yeah, this is amazing. And delegating was amazing because it freed me up. I wasn't doing all the nitty gritty. I wasn't the person setting up all the emails or setting up all the funnels and doing all the, creating that landing page or that lead page. It wasn't me doing all that nitty gritty anymore. So it helped me to like just be with my ideas and be creative and come up with content ideas and film content. And it felt good. But then there was also like a lot of plates that had started to spin and a lot of things going on and no one really managing it. And I was just literally like, I just couldn't keep up with it all really. And it got to the point where so many people I'd literally sought advice from like really successful entrepreneurs and different people. And I found when I spoke to people, these weren't people in like the online business space that I was used to being in. Like I'd speak to my dad and he'd constantly be like, Carrie, you need to have a real team of people. Obviously it was a real team. He was like, you need to employ people. You need to basically take back control. And other people I, spoke to was like, you need to have an office. You need to have people working in the office. And I totally disagreed. I was like, you don't get it because you don't understand what it's like to run a virtual business and you think it's different to how it is. However, I definitely started to feel like I needed to take back a bit of control. Like I felt like I needed to make it on FEA's terms. You work for me and FEA, it's on my terms. We set out when you can invoice us. We set out the contract. We set out the expectations. So even if you're a contractor, it's on our terms and we're not on everyone else's terms because it was just too hard to keep up with. So I started to kind of like get clearer on that fact that I needed to take control and I needed to step it up. I needed to step up. I couldn't do this wishy-washiness anymore. Like I really had to step it up. And so we started to make changes, like for example, invoicing, small thing, but like actually it made a massive difference to us knowing you need to send your invoice to us by this date and it will get paid by this date. So even that was just like really, really helpful. So then I set about to hire my first full-time employee. I thought if I could hire somebody, it was a chief marketing officer position that I wanted. And I thought, if I could just find somebody that can help me with my marketing, that could take that off my plate, that could really help strategize and bring amazing ideas to the table, it would be game-changing, it would be amazing. And if I could have someone that was full-time for FEA and all they were ever thinking about was FEA, and that's where their full focus was, what would be possible? How much could we grow? Like, this could be a game changer. And I got so excited about it. And so I hired a recruitment firm, never done that before. I hired a recruitment firm to help me hire somebody. And as we started talking, this guy was nice, but alarm bells were going off. Like, in the back of my mind, I was like, Carrie, this person is not going to find you the right fit. This is so wildly different to the world you're in, the business space that you're in. Like, it was like, but I just ignored it. I was like, no, I'm trying this out. I'm trying this new thing and I'm going to do this. This is what people do. This is what real businesses do. They hire, they have CMOs. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. And so anyway, I was in San Diego at the time and I was interviewing for the finalists for this role. And it was a guy and he was lovely. And I knew in my heart he was absolutely 100% not the right fit. But he was the best out of the bunch. And I thought, well, this is all there is. And so this recruitment company think that he's going to be good for the job. So maybe I'll just take this risk and I'll just try it. So instead of listening to my instincts, I just went ahead and said, yes, let's do it. So it was a enormous, for me, salary of like 80,000 a year. And I was just like, yes, I'll make this investment and this person's going to change my life. Well, I got back to the UK and he started, and I quickly realized that he was absolutely, whilst really nice, just not the right fit. I felt like he must have been thinking, what is this? Like, what world have I come into? Like, it was so different to, like, I think potentially the corporate world he'd been used to. And the skills didn't really line up because marketing, like digital marketing, the way I knew it was just different to the way he'd done things. Anyway, it was just, I tried, but it was weird because as well, the dynamic was a bit off because that was me, early 30s. He was much older than me. Well, I don't know how old he was actually, but he was older than me. It was just a very weird dynamic. And I just felt like this is so weird. And I knew it wasn't working. And I tried because I felt like I was failing him because I hadn't set him up to succeed. And this is something I notice I do. I take the responsibility and I take it on and I'm like, it's my fault this isn't working out. It's my fault because I've not set this up to work out. I've not helped him enough to be better at this. I've not helped him to really grasp FEA, to really do his job well. And so I tried and I tried and I tried. And we went round in circles. And then I knew I had to let him go. And I was like, this is somebody that's left his other job or I can't remember what his position was, but I think he'd left his previous job to take this job with FEA. And he had a family and children and I was about to fire him. And I just really struggled with that. And in my mind, I thought, he's probably so miserable at this job too. So I'm probably doing him a favour by letting him go and do whatever it is he's meant to be doing because this isn't it. And he knows it's not it. But it just felt so heavy for me to make that decision. Anyway, because I found it hard to like really speak up and talk about this stuff, it got to the end of it. And I think I'd really been frustrated and like things weren't working out. And I feel like I'd probably been at my wit's ends with a few things and perhaps I'd been really like, no, you need to do that, like on it, like very like, no, this isn't right, this isn't right, this isn't right. And I've been quite hard, I think. And then it got to the end of this like 2-week period or something. And I, said, look, I think we both know this isn't working out. And, this isn't going to work, is it? I know you're probably feeling frustrated. I'm feeling frustrated. So we had this really good conversation. And then he just told me he'd been having a really hard time in his personal life. I think his wife had been diagnosed with, I think, cancer and was really, really unwell. His 2 children, I think they were autistic, and so they needed extra care. It was a few years ago now, so my memory's a bit hazy. But anyway, he told me this story, and he personally was just going through a really challenging personal time. And I felt like such an arsehole. Like, I felt like when he told me what had happened, and he was not telling me to make me feel bad, but when he told me this, I just thought, my God, I've been so hard on you the past few weeks because I've been thinking about it not working out for me, and I didn't know what he was going through and everything that he was dealing with. It was a lot, and I just felt so bad. And I got off that call and I literally went and sat on the floor. I literally curled up into a ball with my dog and I just bawled my eyes out. And I was just like, I feel like the worst human being ever. I feel like such a failure. I feel like I've just been such an idiot. And I felt horrible. I felt so horrible. And I realized that like this, like dealing with people and employing people, it's something that you really have to take so seriously, because it was his life too. It wasn't just mine anymore. It was the way I showed up, the way I led, the way I communicated had a direct impact on him and his job, his livelihood, his life. And it just was a lot to take on emotionally. And after that, I mean, I really felt like, whoa, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like, I don't know if I'm cut out to be hiring people. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure this out. Like, I'm just this person with these ideas and I want to try and make them successful, but I don't fully know where we're going. I don't know what the next thing is that's going to work. I don't know any of this stuff. I'm just here playing around. And that was me. I had just been this person that was just playing around with this and trying to figure it out and seeing where we could get to. And there I was, having made this really big, brave, I'm going to try and do this and hire this person. And yeah, obviously just, yeah, made me think, what the hell am I doing? And so after that, I had a few more hires that were just complete disasters. And I felt like it got me to the point where I was like, I have to do a better job when I bring people on board. So I made another crucial hire after that. It was somebody that came on board, and she came on board as my assistant, and I quickly realized that she was really, really good. And so her role started to like escalate really quickly. And then she helped me to start hiring more people. So we started to hire more and more full-time employees at a lower level. And it started to work out, but then I started to really struggle with boundaries. Like, people would be like, oh, I'm just going to do yoga in the middle of the day. And I'd be like, oh, right, okay. And then, oh, is it okay? Can I just go and work from Spain for 2 weeks? And I'd be like, sure. And it was this conflict between like, as an entrepreneur, I want to have this free lifestyle. I want to be able to do what I want when I want to do it. And so I'm like, well, if I want that, they want that. So who am I to tell them, no, they can't do that? And I got into all this like bloody mess in my head around like, I just want to be nice. I want them to have fun working for me. And it just all got so wishy-washy. And it got to this point where we had people on board, and it made me feel so drained, because I was trying to build this business, but I was trying to deal with people. And there was so much emotional baggage with people, and so many the people that could push your boundaries. And I was just pushing, like falling back and back and back, and being like taking it until I felt like I was literally about to explode. And so made some more big hires that didn't work out. It was like very emotionally draining. And I definitely started to feel like, right, Carrie, you've made a few hires and you've made a few mistakes, and what are you really doing about correcting this so you stop making these big mistakes? Because there was this one person who started in the virtual assistant role and then worked her way into like a bigger role. In the end, it didn't work out. And I think a lot of it didn't work out because I was just drowning in so much stuff, and I felt so infuriated by loads of other things that were happening, and everything combined into like just a big, like, I just have to let go of all this and start again. And it wasn't because she wasn't good. It was just because I just wasn't mentally able to cope with what I'd put in place. So that all kind of collapsed in on itself, and at this point it was me, the office, and some full-time employees, and then contractors. And slowly I have rebuilt it, and we still have a mix of like a virtual team and full-time team. And we've actually got a lot. I actually wrote this down so I could share with you who is on the team. So we've got James, my brother, who does the Carry & Co stuff, the planners, the stationery, and he also helps with like managing the office and managing like the money and the finances, like paying invoices, all that kind of stuff. We've got Andre, who's my developer. We've got Natasha, Natasha B, she's project managers, she's virtual, she's currently in Turkey. We have Alice, who manages the members club and the members and like the whole experience inside the membership. James Walker, he's our videographer, he's in-house, he's full-time at the office. We've got Layla, she does social media, she's full-time at the office. We've got Scarlett, who's full-time at the office, and she does like customer support, but transitioning into like helping more with member experience. And Veronica, who's at the office, and she does customer support. We have Jess, who is in the UK, but doesn't, she's not based out of the office, and she's a contractor, and she does copy and marketing with us. We have Cheryl, who has started, and she's not in-house either. She's got her own business and she does our ads. We've got Hannah and Joanna, who are our graphic designers. And again, they're contractors. Adriana, who does our like UX UI, so design. So she designs like our web pages and builds a lot of our web pages. Natasha V, who manages our masterclasses and puts all those together for the members club. We've got Charlotte, who helps set up all of our emails. And we've got Ataru, who is another developer on the team. And then we have a small team of people that we use who help to get some of the setup of our masterclasses sorted out. A guy called Clint, he manages that, who is over in the Philippines. So yeah, there's a small team over there. And I don't think I missed anyone, so I think that's it. So we are a pretty flat organization still. And so I definitely find myself drowning in like management still. And by no means I'm so far from having this figured out. But we're in a really good place where a team of people who are driving things forward, like to have, for example, Alice, who can take on projects. Like we just recently launched our gamification inside of the members club, and you know, she takes it on and she comes up with ideas and she thinks it all through, and so she takes it off my plate, and it's just amazing to have her support. And she's so good, she comes up with so many ideas and for the members club, and so it's amazing and such a relief to have people on the team that are amazing, that just take things off my plate and that can really help me to create incredible experiences for FEA and our customers. So we're in a really, really good place, but I definitely feel like I do need help. So for example, I recently just hired an HR person to come and help us with creating more boundaries, because boundaries is something that I definitely need to get better at, because if it's not clear for me, it's not clear for the people working for me, which is not fair on them, which then means that things can get a little bit wishy-washy and relaxed, and then I often find that it just little things start to build and build and build, and it's not necessarily people being bad, it's just the boundaries need to be clear, the expectations need to be clear, and I feel like I need help with like putting that infrastructure in place, because that is just not my area of expertise. So that's that's basically my journey. But I wanted to share these 7 things with you if you're thinking of hiring, especially like whether you're just starting out or whether you're trying to scale. The first thing I wanted to say is hire slowly and hire organically. So when I started out, there was a time where I was like, well, I need this person and this person and this person and this person. And I was like, no, just keep it simple. If you're just working for it's just you right now, what's one person that could come and just really support you and take a lot off your plate? Like, is it somebody that can help you with like digital marketing, who can set up your funnels, can set up your landing pages and your opt-ins, and can manage your social media for you? Like, or is it somebody that can do customer support and take emails off you? Like, what would be that person? Like, what would you want them to do? And really thinking like, what would the dream person be able to do for you that would make a massive difference for you right now? And write it down and then literally put it out there to the universe or to whoever you want to put it out to, just to say, I need to find this person, I need to bring this person into my life. And then instead of going to a recruitment firm or anything like that, my personal advice, if you're just starting out, would be look in places similar to your business, in the sense of some of my first hires were organically through relationships I developed in Facebook groups I was part of, communities that I was part of, communities where people were hanging out who understood the business world that I was in. So find places where people understand your business world, what you do, the kind of business you run. You want people who get you, who understand your type of business. So if you can join a Facebook group where people would get what you're doing and get what you're trying to do, go and reach out in those groups and be like, hey, I'm looking for this person. Does anyone have any recommendations? Like literally a friend of mine recently just did this and just hired somebody. I think it was even through the FEA group, and it's so far working out amazingly. So definitely do that before going to a recruitment firm. Like I just would try and do it yourself organically through reaching out and asking questions. Does anyone know anyone? Ask on Instagram, ask in Facebook groups, ask potentially, I mean, I haven't asked on LinkedIn, but maybe you could if that's where you hang out. And just try and see whether you can find a recommendation or something first, because I feel like that is always better. And just really allow it to flow and don't force it. Just allow whoever comes up to come up and just allow it to flow. The second piece of advice is set expectations, even from the beginning. Like really set expectations of what you want somebody to do. Write it down on a piece of paper of like, so that you're clear on the expectations and they're clear on the expectations. And if I would say, typically the advice would be make sure you have contract in place. But like, I didn't have contracts in place for the first lot of people I hired, just because sometimes I feel like it's better to reduce the resistance to getting going than having all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes I think we hold ourselves back because we think we need this in place and this in place and this in place and this in place, and bloody hell, by the time you've got all that in place, you can't even remember what you're doing anymore, and you just don't ever get moving on it. So just make it easy for yourself to get going and get the support you need. And so for me, I didn't have contracts in place because, oh, well, who am I going to go to? And then it's going to cost me a fortune to go to a solicitor. And I don't even know how it all works. It just felt like such a block for me. I just was like, no, forget that. I'm just going to have someone come on board and just like, let's figure this out. So I think it's just going with what feels good for you and just allowing it to, that's what kind of goes back to allowing it to flow. But obviously, especially as you're growing, obviously those expectations have to be super, super clear. And then obviously you'll start to create job descriptions and very clear job descriptions and very clear outcomes for the jobs. And the more clear, the more specific, the more likely it is that you're going to really get the results that you want. Set people up to succeed. So I found that like, I can't just assume that someone could come in and do what I want them to do and just read my mind. So I was like, I really need to try and set people up for success. So one of the biggest things I did was, create the success playbook. And I was like, I create beautiful workbooks for, we put them out there for all of our members to consume, but like, what are we doing as a team? So my success playbook is literally like who we are, what we do, what the FEA mission is, how to show up and be part of the team, like all this stuff, like act with speed. I'm not going to read all the bits, but act with integrity and learn from mistakes, take responsibility, work to improve. So don't just get a task done, think about how you can improve it, think about how you can do things better, bring your expertise to the table, don't be afraid to speak up and use your initiative, like a bunch of things. And then like how things will work and all that stuff. So I feel like it's helpful. However, it's also like you've got to keep it coming back to life and but it's good to have it for you to put everything out on paper. What is this about? What do I need to tell people about my business so that it can help them to really thrive working for me? We have like obviously a big onboarding process now in Asana. When somebody joins us, there's things they have to do before we kick it off. There's things we send them. We get them to do like quizzes on like their love language and a few other things. I can't remember the other quizzes. And then getting them to go through a series of steps in like their first few weeks so that they can really get to know FEA and all that stuff. It's by no means perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. So the fourth thing that I was going to say is have clear boundaries. And for me, this is something I still work on, but I just think it's so important because when you're working with people, not everyone, but sometimes you give an inch and somebody takes a mile. So I feel like having those really clear boundaries is so important because without them, people don't know where the limit is. And so I have found without boundaries, it becomes emotionally draining to manage people because it's draining to keep saying to somebody or to keep saying, oh, no, actually, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Or no, this isn't right. No, this isn't right. It's just draining. It's draining. And I feel like so many of us don't speak up on little things and we let it slide and we let it slide and we let it slide and then it's a bloody disaster. So yes, having those clear boundaries in place can be really helpful. And like I said, this is something I'm working on, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. Follow your gut for hiring and firing. Literally, like, listen. I haven't listened so many occasions and it's got me in so much trouble. Listen to your gut with hiring and firing. I always feel like if you need to get rid of somebody, like, you're probably doing them a favor too, even though it's emotionally distressing to let people go. You're probably doing them a really big favor because if you know it's not right, they know it's not right as well. I feel like there's never been a situation where I've thought something wasn't right and the other person was blissfully unaware. Like, that's never happened. They've always known that something isn't working, it's not right. So I feel, and then when I finally said something, it's like, oh yeah, this hasn't been working for a while. So I feel like it's so important to listen to yourself. You are the owner of your business at the end of the day. It's your ship. You have the people on your ship that you want on your ship, and you need to get the people that you don't want on it off. Like in the past, for example, when I've hired people and they just weren't the right energy, it was bloody draining, so draining. And I knew they didn't have the right energy and I kept them there. And you know what? It made me feel like I don't even want to show up and have a conversation and be part of this because I don't want to speak to you. And I thought the moment I realized that was, this has to end. I cannot show up to my business like this anymore. So yes, follow your instincts. The sixth tip is to read Rocket Fuel and Traction by Gino Wickman. These are the two book recommendations. Such good books, Rocket Fuel and Traction by Gino Wickman. And those were books I started to read back when I was like, my team exploded and I was drowning in it all, to put structure in place, to put the team meetings in place, to do the weekly check-in calls. And over time, we've gone from being super structured with it to falling out of that structure, to getting back in a structure, to falling out of it, to getting back in it. So it's been hard to be consistent because there's so many things going on. And sometimes like I don't have time to manage everything on top of trying to get stuff done. And this leads me on to my seventh point, is like, get help to do this. Like, I have definitely struggled for way too much by myself, but it's like there's so many people out there that are bloody amazing at building teams, that know how to put the operations in place for a business. So as you're actually scaling and you're bringing on more people, get the help you need to do it. Like, I will admit, I am not an operations person. Like, I don't even enjoy it. I don't enjoy the operation side. I don't enjoy management side. I just don't. I don't. I love coming up with the ideas. I love being creative. I love seeing what's possible. And I love creating content. And that's the space I want to sit in. I don't want to deal with the other side. So I was resisting and resisting and resisting. And it was just getting messier and messier and harder to deal with. So now I have somebody on board to help me, and I have hired people in the past to help, and some things have worked out, some things haven't, but this time hopefully it'll really work out and it'll be helpful. But be willing to get the help you need to do it. You don't have to do this by yourself. So all in all, I feel like FEA wouldn't be what it is today without the team we have in place. And I'm so grateful for the team that I have built up. It's been one heck of a ride to get to this point and to create what I have created. But it's been well worth it, because you can't do it. You can't just do it by yourself for the whole time if you want to scale a business. You can't. But if you've never built a team before, like with anything, you've got to go through so many learning curves. And I think the more books you can read to educate yourself, the more people you can reach out to for help, the easier it's going to be. And also just giving yourself permission to get going and take that first leap and that first small hire, and just allow yourself to go with the flow with it, and to just not put pressure on yourself to have it all figured out. So is what I would say. It's just get stuck in and get started and get excited for the ride that you're going to go on. And the amazing people that are going to come into your life, and perhaps are not so amazing people that are going to come into your life, but everyone who comes into your life is there to teach you a lesson. And the lesson that I've learned from the people that hasn't worked out is, 1, speak up more. 2, set clear boundaries, set expectations, create a better onboarding process. Like, I wouldn't have learned all those things had I not gone through the mistakes I've been through. And yes, I'm sharing my mistakes with you in the hope that maybe it might help you to not make as many mistakes as me. But nevertheless, I feel like all the mistakes have been helpful because they've helped shape me into a better leader, into a better business owner. And I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, anyway, that is my story on team building. There is actually a chapter, if you got my book, on page 208, I talk about growing a team and finding a mentor. Not in as much detail as what I just shared with you, really, but there are some other bits that I shared that you might find helpful in there. So definitely check that out if you do have my book, She Means Business. But yeah, I feel like if you are teetering on the edge of making your first hire, put it out there, decide what you want, decide what you're looking for, decide what it is that you really need that's going to help you. If you don't even know, speak to a friend, speak to somebody, hop in a business group like FEA, try and chat to somebody that you can sit down and you can like just chat it through, like, well, actually, I don't really like this, I don't really like this, I don't really like this, but I want someone to help me with this, I want someone to help me, you know, just start to like piece it together and just slowly ease your way into it. And like I said, just following those 7 things I shared. I mean, my God, I could go on and on and on with different tips and tricks and whatever, but we sat here for bloody hours. So just, yeah, just get going with it. And then obviously, if you are scaling to get those, well, if you are scaling, you probably already know, you're probably not even listening to this anymore. But anyway, I hope what I've shared has been helpful. And I hope that if you have experienced traumatic team experiences, that you know you're not alone. And it is challenging because it's dealing with people and there's a lot of emotion involved, and it can just be really challenging, but it can also be the most amazing, most wonderful, most incredible thing ever. And I cannot tell you how many pinch me moments I have at the office. Sometimes, like when me and all the team are together, I literally look around and I look around at the office and I look around at everything that I've created. I'm like, I remember when it was just me, myself and I making videos out of my spare bedroom at my parents' house. Yes, at my parents' house. Well, I didn't live there, but I just used their bedroom to make my videos. And that's where it all started from, to think now that here we are at this office. And to clarify, I don't think you need an office, and I don't to build to scale a business. But obviously we all know that now, especially when, you know, with the pandemic and everyone going virtual, like, you don't need it. But I do love having the space, especially because I've got kids now, so I can come here and I can like actually focus, which is a podcast episode for another day. But yeah, anyway, I hope it's been helpful, me sharing this and all of my experiences. I strive to get better. My goal is to keep being a better leader and to keep growing and evolving as a leader. And I think for all of us, as long as we're intentional about that, that's all we can ever ask of ourselves. You know, all we can ever ask is that we try our best when it comes to building our business and, you know, creating the business and life that we want and building the team that we want and the team of our dreams. Is just getting intentional and trying to get better and better and better at it. Whew, okay, I'm done. I have no more to say, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I'd love to hear your experiences when it comes to team building and hiring. So definitely share over on Instagram at I am Carrie Green or at Female Entrepreneur Association. Come share your stories. I'd love to share them as well and repost them out so that everyone else can see that they are not alone. Share your tips, share your struggles, share the craziest thing that's happened to you when you've hired somebody, share all the fun stuff. I'd love to see. Also, don't forget that coming up in January, we are hosting our Ideas to Income Challenge for 2022. It's going to be amazing because I know so many of us are just sat on ideas, whether it's to create a course or a membership or whatever the heck it is. We sit on our ideas and we struggle to actually get them and turn them into something. So the Ideas to Income Challenge is to really kick off 2022 in a way that's going to actually help you to just blum and do it. It's going to be so amazing. We have something exciting called Income Drops. Yep, Income Drops. We're going to be giving away money, Income Drops, to help you as you turn your idea into income. So definitely sign up for it. It's going to be amazing. So yes, get involved. Just head over to femaleentrepreneurassociation.com/ideas to income, and you will be able to sign up or get on the wait list at least for it, or sign up for it, whichever is there on the page. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much if you're still listening to me. I appreciate you so much, and I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you next week for another episode of the She Means Business Show. I hope you've loved this week's episode of the She Means Business Show. If you want more help and support to build a wildly successful business, then join hundreds of thousands of women and become an FEA Insider. You'll get access to some of our amazing freebies, to our bonuses, to our giveaways, to so much good stuff. You can join me over at fea.link/insider to get all of the goodness. And I will see you next week for another episode of the She Means Business Show.